All right, I'm sorry about that. I had to move inside suddenly. I had some technical difficulties.
Right. Come on. Luna. Luna. Yeah.
All right, I see some people come back on. Apologize. I apologize about that, y'all. That has never happened, but I had some technical difficulties, so I just moved inside where I have stable signal and everything. So it's a little bit warmer in here. It's prettier outside, but it's warmer in here. So I'll wait and see if a couple more people find me. I'll just come back up. How you like my cup? Isn't that cool? This is my daughter's. I found this for her, and I drink out of it all the time. Love you to the moon and back. Oh, okay, see some more people. Listen, y'all, apologize. I had to move inside. Had technical difficulties, but I'm back. I'm just going to pick up where you were. I still remember the time that it was a difficult season. I think it was the 2008 between 2010, 11, 12, somewhere in there. And I remember people talking about, oh, wow, it was like in the world, all these bad things are going to happen. And then other people saying, no, it's just the greatest time we've ever been alive, you know. And there were these groups. There were people that I admired, and there were people I looked up, and they're good people, both groups, good people. So I remember asking God, and I said, you know, I'm getting all this information, and it's conflicting. It's confusing, right? All the voices, they can be confusing. And I remember I just heard God talk to me that day, and I still remember where I was. And he just said, Melanie, you'll always find what you're looking for. So you remember that. There's truth to that. You will always find what you're looking for. So Amelia, if you're looking for positivity, that's what you will find. But if any of us are looking to be sick, for always, I see commercials that advertise for testing. They advertise for, I'm not saying this is wrong, colorectal. They advertise for all these different things to go and check. And I couldn't help but think, if we're always looking to be sick, if we're looking for something to be wrong with us, you know, we'll find it. So I don't want to look. I want to look to be healthy. Now, saying that, I still go every year. I get my physical. I go have a mammogram. I do whatever, when it's time to do a colonoscopy or whatever, I go and I do that. However, I am not anticipating for my pap smear to come back bad. I'm not anticipating that. In fact, when it comes in and it's cleared, I'm like, okay, good. That's what I expected. That's what I expect. But also, in saying that, I've been changing the way I eat, exercise. I have been putting more time and care into this body. Not because I'm special or not because of anything like that, just because it's the only body I get. This is it. This is not really so much me. I'm on the inside of this, my spirit. So this is my form of transportation, just like my car that I drive. So if I don't take care of it, who's going to take care of it? And the same for you. So I admire y'all for things that you're saying. If you've got some extra weight on your body, get that weight off. Get that weight off. It's not about how you look, even though I know that's important. It is about your body going long term, right? I've noticed with my husband getting his weight down, a couple of things are happening. His knees are feeling better, his back is feeling better, and his blood pressure is going down. And we're both sleeping better. We sleep better when we get the weight off. So this is all we have, ladies. We just have this one body to get us through. And I plan on busting open. Hey, babe, you going?
Love you.
Love you.
Yeah.
He's going to the stretch zone now. He's been, he has very tight legs, so. But this is it. So we got to take care of ourselves. And I want y'all to be healthy. And I want you to bust wide open the 80s and the 90s. Still outdoing. There's a TikTok of a lady. She TikToks her mother. Her mother's 90. And she shows how mobile her mother is. She caught her mother, had locked herself out of her apartment. So she was going over the rails on the back side of the apartment to get into her house. I thought, oh my gosh, I know a lot of people in their 30s they can't climb over a porch railing. So she was climbing over it, getting back inside. So this is it. This is the body that we're given. We need to cherish it. We need to cherish the day. Today's a beautiful day. I don't know where some of you are. I know some of you are near me, actually. Amelia, you are. Not far from you. And here it's a little bit cool, a little bit crisp this morning. But it's beautiful. The birds are singing. I always love to hear them in the morning. They only sing for a certain time, and then they settle down. So try to enjoy it in the morning. And sometimes before they go to bed at night, you can hear them out there singing before they go to bed. But the song is prettier in the morning. And I'm not a morning person, so, but I get out there. Anything else? Let's see. Looking at some comments. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, well, Amelia, it wasn't you, it was me. I had technical difficulties on my end, so that's never happened to me before. So I apologize, y'all. And I hope you're enjoying your day and you enjoy your Tai Chi and your positivity class. What else are y'all doing? What other types of things are you doing to stay in shape and take care of yourself? And there's a range of how we take care of ourselves. It's the physical, there's the spiritual, and then there's the mental, emotional. All that to me is kind of rolled in together. I put something out. I think I put it on Ammirata. If you've never done this, go and do this. This is so much fun. It was called the 16 Personalities Test. It's free. I think it's 16, like 16personalities.com. And you go and you take a test. It's either 50 or 100 questions, but it went fast. It was real easy. Go and do that and see what comes back, what it says about you and your communication style. I thought it was great, and it was pretty much right on. So that was kind of fun to know ourselves a little bit better. I think, isn't that Hamlet? Know thyself. I think it's Shakespeare. I'm not sure if that's from Hamlet or not, but reading is good for our minds. Reading, studying. Hey, have anybody been doing the Wordle? The Wordle that's been going around, the 5, you have to come up with a word that is 5 letters. And they do a new one every day. That's pretty fun, doing some stuff like that. Oh, Texas. Our little Texas, Alabama, Gina. Walking. Devotionals. I do too, man. Oh, good, Judy. 40 minutes a day. Girl, you got it going on. And you hike when it's nice. I like to hike too. Judy, I like to hike. We have the Blue Ridge. I am about 2 hours, maybe south. I am in the foothill region of South Carolina. That's what they call it. Because we're at the foothill of the mountain. So I don't have to drive very far till I see mountains. It's very hilly where I live too. And Amelia, it's very hilly in Abbeville. It's a beautiful county. I rode through Abbeville yesterday, or day before yesterday. Beautiful, beautiful area. Yes, it does, Judy. There's something about getting outside, being in the outdoors, that is like a sanctuary. And if we can be outside, even if you're in a very large city, because believe me, I was in New York around December of last year, and I went out into the area that, I don't know if it's called Liberty Park or I forget the name of it, but it's the park where you can see the Statue of Liberty. And it was freezing cold off of that water, but I'm telling you, it was so beautiful. It was just so beautiful. So wherever you are, wherever that is, even if it's a rooftop of a beautiful building, get outside. Enjoy the sun. There's something about having that sun on our face, on our skin, that really does. And I love to go in the mountains, and I love to hike. I'm not probably like Judy, probably not as good as Judy as with my hiking, but I do get out there, and I love to be in the outdoors. And a lot of times I don't hike. I'm just driving. I'm driving through the mountains. I'm driving through the Blue Ridge Parkway. Put that on your bucket list to do the Blue Ridge Parkway. One day, do that. It's absolutely phenomenal drive. And it's just nothing but getting out here and driving it. It's not expensive. There's no cost to get on that particular stretch of highway. They built that in the Great Depression. They built that, and that was one thing that helped bring income into that area for people to have jobs. That was kind of going on when a lot of the parks were being created too, in the, I guess that would have been the 1930s, 40s. So it's a beautiful, just 2-lane, snakes through the mountains of the Blue Ridge. So it's wonderful. Also driving the coast of the Outer Banks. That's another bucket list thing that you can do. You can ride the ferries, and I mean, it's just beautiful, but it does something to us. It does to me when I get outside. It just seems like there's so much possibility and beauty around me that I feel like it invades me in a good way as far as my spirit. And even when I'm down or, stressed, being outdoors seems to lift my spirits. So do that. Been raining where Kelly's at. I see that. Yeah, you need some sunshine. You might be like my daughter is a July baby, and she can't stand it when it rains, Kelly. It's like depressing to her, but I find beauty in everything, whether it's singing in the rain, running in the rain, but if it's been raining forever, I get that. It is time for a little sun, time for a little, green stuff to come out in your yard around you. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, Maxine. Maxine, it's good to have you out here. Been to Outer Banks, Amelia? Okay. I did that too, Amelia. Did you do the red one with the 2 wings or whatever? And I did the ferry ride. Yes, I took an airplane flight over it too, and it was affordable. We could do it. And we flew over. We had a female pilot flew us over the Outer Banks, and it was so beautiful. Even showed us wrecks that were down in the water we could see. So there's so many fun things for y'all, and that's one reason that I built this channel, is so that you could know there's a lot out there. And there we can go from way extreme up here to things that we can do, but we can do things for free that are great, just like hiking. I mean, what is that? Maybe a pair of boots, right? A pair of boots, and just drive somewhere and get out and walk. Maybe take your stick, though. I mean, you never know what you're going to run up on if you're going through woods and stuff. So, Kelly, you're in Pennsylvania. Oh, I love Pennsylvania. I've driven that. I've driven from one corner to the other. It's gorgeous there. I love all the farms, the rolling hills, the Holstein cows, the Amish, the Mennonites. It's a beautiful area. And the food, oh my gosh, y'all's food is so good. I love the Pennsylvania Dutch and the way they cook. I think some of my family they're German, Dutch, something, because there was a recipe that the Amish have that I've never had before, except my family. It's very rare. And they actually had it in one of the recipe books. Couldn't believe it. So it was really cool. All right, let's see. You live in town, walk in the streets. Well, you're in a beautiful town, Amelia. Yeah, the dog park too. We volunteer sometimes in that dog park. So maybe come when you see that they're having work day, Amelia. That's a lot of fun. Let's see what else people do. Devotionals. Yeah. Trying to go up and read y'all's comments, so apologize. I'm looking down, I know. Yeah. Well, Kelly, I hope it is here, because in South Carolina, we get a short spring. It's not slow, but it's short. It's like it's spring, and all of a sudden, man, it's sweating hot summer. And it seemed like last year it was hot, even up into the fall. So we've already had days in the 70s already in South Carolina, although this morning it's a little bit cool. But, yeah, I wish our spring was a little bit slower. It's like popcorn. It's like pop, flowers, and then next thing you know, it's burning hot. So, okay, Gina, you live in the country. It's about 10 miles to town. Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's great. So you can enjoy the country and get out and do some things. And there's so many things that we can do, even planting a garden. And I'm going to throw some things out. We've been on here for a little bit longer than I normally am on here. But I'm going to throw this out, and hopefully you guys will understand and be thinking like this too. I was watching, I watch a lot of alternative news. I don't really trust the regular media. I do believe it's full of propaganda, and I know that even from the 50s there was propaganda, and that's even in your history books. They'll talk about that. In history books, they talk about propaganda that they used, especially during the Cold War, to try to get America on board and everybody going in the right direction. But we have been propagandized so much, and I've been watching. I try to find people that have integrity. Let's just put it that way, have integrity. And I was watching this guy, and you can go and watch him too. It's called Man in America. His name is Seth something. His last name begins with an H, but you can find him just Man in America. He's on YouTube. He's on some other platforms as well. I think he's on Rumble. And he was talking about gardening. He used to live in New York City, and he moved to Ohio where they have more land, and he bought a house that has land so he can garden. And that's what I was about to get to talking about, gardening. There's something about planting a garden and watching those little seeds pop up. It's such a miracle. When I see them coming up through that ground, I'm like, this is such a miracle that something in the ground you cannot see, it's like invisible. How can that little green body come out of just a dried up little seed? It's just such a miracle. And if you've ever planted okra, which okra is a big thing in the South, especially the Southeast, we eat a lot of fried okra. If you've ever planted it, it comes from a little tiny seed. But the stalks that grow from that little bitty seed, they tower above my head. I have to reach up to cut the okra off. I actually have to pull it down to cut it sometimes. Such a miracle, and it's really, I don't know, something about doing that is awesome. But on Man in America, getting back to what Seth was saying on that show that I watched, he was saying, talking about the soil does smell good. I love the smell of dirt too. I thought I was the only one that was strange. I like the smell of old books and dirt too. But anyway, Seth was talking about Russia and Ukraine, the war that's going on there now. Did y'all know that the Ukraine was the breadbasket of the world? And it's in our Midwest too. It's in America. But 1/3 of wheat exports come out of Ukraine. So to me, that's a little bit serious. And they were saying that 15% of the world's diet, 15% of the world's diet comes from wheat and grain. So I don't know what's going on in America as far as this year, farmers planting, but I know that last year a lot of people were paid not to plant. They were paid not to plant, but this is almost like, seems like a perfect storm is happening where a lot of things are kind of not where they should be. So I'm just saying it would be a great idea, and for many reasons, that you garden. Whether you do little container gardens, if you have a little porch that you can garden in, you can garden inside. You can go on YouTube and see how to grow potatoes in pots inside, indoors. So I highly recommend that if you have land or you have a little bit of a yard, you can do container gardens, you can do terrace gardens. If you have land, do some gardens outside like our parents used to do. I grew up, when I used to joke, and I said I would never garden because my parents, the way they gardened, they did not have a garden. They had a field. We had 3 fields that they sowed down every spring. We had the vegetable garden. We would have another like bean garden where they called them field peas. They'd sow those. And we'd have another garden that was just potatoes. They'd be like sweet potatoes, and there'd be a lot of them. So, and that was aggravating when you're 16 years old in summertime. It's your summer break, and you're having to get up at 7 o'clock and go out and pull weeds or hoe. But I'm telling you, we ate very well. We ate very healthy. And I attribute a lot of my health to my mother growing our own vegetables. And when it came springtime, my sister was a diabetic. My sister, I don't think she's on here, but she wouldn't mind me saying this. She's in this group. She wouldn't mind me saying it. She's a diabetic. So my mother made sure we ate healthy. And that was really a great thing for us, the way that she cooked. But when it became spring and it came like May, June, July, somewhere in there, when the peaches came in South Carolina, we'd go pick peaches. And we would take those peaches and we'd freeze some and we'd can some. And that's what we ate off during the year. And it was healthier. It was a way for us to get something sweet without it being such a bad thing for my sister's blood sugar. So we need to be at least aware and educated about what that looks like should something like that happen. But you know yourself, even during COVID, there was crazy runs on toilet paper. I mean, that's freaking crazy. My daughter works at Publix, and she's telling me, she says, Mom, people are coming in, they're buying certain foods, they're buying certain things, and it's disappearing off of the shelves, just not there. She says, they come in, they get it all. And she's like, what are they doing? But apparently they're storing and they're freezing. So we want to be ahead of anything like that. I refuse to live in fear. I'm going to live in faith. But part of faith is being prepared, and it's being knowledgeable, it's being wise. So do our part. Let's do our part. And if you've never had a garden, plant something. Even if you got to plant a couple of tomato plants on your porch, whatever, just do it. Buy some things ahead, like dried rice, potato flakes, dried beans. Just put some of that stuff up. Because it doesn't matter necessarily anything to do with the economy. There are so many things that can happen, like flooding, like tornadoes, hurricanes. There's so many things that maybe we need a little bit of food to get us by for a week. And people back in probably the 60s, 70s, and even 80s, we put up more food and we stored more than we do now. We have become so centralized that we are very dependent. So let's move away from being so dependent on our food supply. That's a little scary. So, all right, I shouldn't say scary. It's cause for concern. And we need to do our part to be wise. Yes, I love my flowers too. And I'm more of a flower gardener, Gina, than a vegetable gardener, but I got to get better. My tomatoes, I can never get them to grow, but I've got to figure something out. Because tomatoes in the store, they're not tomatoes. I don't know what they are, but they have no taste. It is like eating in cardboard. So you can, great. My mother canned. She was phenomenal. We ate, when my mother died, we had canned a bunch of green beans. And I cherished, every time I opened one of those cans of green beans, I thought of her because they came out of her garden. So canning is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, we did eat healthier. I know it. Yeah, it is work. It is work. Yeah. I don't like it so much boiled, Amelia, but I have eaten it. I do eat it in soups. A vegetable soup has to have okra in this family. It has to have okra, tomatoes, and I even put hamburger in mine because my family is meat eaters. So they love hamburger. In the 40s. And where Gina's at's in the 40s. Well, it's probably in the 50s. Maybe. It'll probably be in the 60s or 70s today, though, in South Carolina. I don't exactly know. But it sure is pretty, and the sun's bright right now, so it's coming up. Corn. Yeah, we did do a lot of corn, too. Yeah, corn has to be in there, too. But we grew up on a farm. We were talking about, let's see, was it Kelly? Kelly that's in Pennsylvania, and you have a lot of farms. Well, we have, where I grew up was on the edge of 1,000-acre dairy farm, and they planted corn so that they could feed the grains for their cows for the next year, because that became silage, what they had to cut, and it went up, and it fed the cows through the winter, and into the next year. Well, on the outside of all that grain, all the corn for the cows that they plant 1 or 2 rows of sweet corn that would be for humans, for the people. So people in the neighborhood, wasn't that a great thing, somebody to do? So people that were in the neighborhood, if you wanted to pick the corn, you could go out there and pick corn. And it was such big fields, it was fine with them. So that's what we did. Everybody would just go out and we'd pick corn and we'd put that up. So when you do corn, that's a day when you have to pick it, shuck it, silk it, wash it, cut all the worms out of it, and then, After you boil it, you have to cut it off, and I was never a good cutter. So we had the more experienced people cutting while the people like me were eating it and stuffing it into little Ziploc bags. But yeah, and just think about that, how people used to share and do things like that together. We just need to be a good neighbor, and if we are a good neighbor, we'll make good neighbors, right? So my grandmother, who's all my grandparents are passed on now, but my grandmother told me something. And I did a little interview on her before she passed away because there were so many things I wanted to know how she did. She raised 7 children. Her husband died when her youngest child was, I think, 1 or 2. So she pretty much had to take care in an age where women did not have good jobs. She had very difficult, very hard jobs. And I wanted to ask her some things about how she made it, how she survived, because she was a tough woman. She told me, like, when she was young, and even I would imagine kind of when she first got married. Now, this would have been in the 1930s, because I think she was born in 1911. This is what they did, and I thought this was really interesting. I never knew this before. She said that because, they didn't have refrigeration, they stored things in spring houses, which is nothing more than where a spring or a little stream ran over and it was cold, maybe in the woods. They'd have a little building, and that's where they'd put like their milk and their butter. But it wasn't a great way to store it. It would store it just, for a day or 2 or whatever, or maybe longer, just depending on the time of the season that they were in. But she said families, communities, they had what they called like a meat club. And what they would do is they'd have, like, let's say 10 or 12 people in this meat club. And what they did was they'd butcher a cow. One family would butcher that month. The next month, somebody else would butcher. And they shared the meat. Now, wasn't that awesome? They would divide it up between those 12 families. So they had fresh meat throughout the year. They probably didn't have it every day, but they didn't eat it every day, and they didn't need it every day because, they ate a lot of pork. That was one thing they could preserve. They could hang it. And not many people know how to do that anymore. But that's the way they did it. We've got to really be aware of ways that we can take care of each other. I don't know. I'm not a doomsdayer at all, but I do believe in being wise and having a little bit of knowledge and understanding. That is what we need. And we don't need to be in la-la land. We don't need to be in the apocalyptic mode either. So some moderation, somewhere in between, right? Yes, I got to go too, y'all. Listen, I've enjoyed being out here, and I know I've let it run over a little bit, but I've enjoyed being with y'all, and I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful day, and I will see you out here Tuesday. We'll get together again, and just happy day for you. Enjoy the outdoors today. Some sort of way, try to get outside. Love y'all.